The voyage of Christopher Columbus changed the lives of the Taino people, as well as shaped the Caribbean culturally and religiously. Christopher Columbus is portrayed in textbooks as a hero who conquered the world, but led to the destruction and tragedy of the natives and their land, as well as the involvement of enslaving innocent people. October 12, 1492. Christopher Columbus made landfall on islands in the Caribbean. The historic voyage ignited the age of exploration and cross-Atlantic expansion by European settlers. Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain in hopes of exploring Asia, although a different route caused him to end up in the Caribbean. From there, Columbus interacted with the natives. He firstly encountered the Arawak Indians of the Bahama Islands. The Arawak's first interaction with Columbus was maintained. The natives offered him water, food, and gifts. Columbus would continuously make observations about the natives and their ground. Also, Columbus referred to the Indians as Indios. The Tainos were indigenous people of the Caribbean. They were the first people of the New World to encounter Europeans during the voyages of Christopher Columbus starting in 1492. At the time of Columbus's arrival in 1492, there were only Taino chiefdoms in Hispaniola. Chiefdoms, usually based on kinship, it is a form of socio-political organization in which political and economic power is exercised by a single person over many communications. December of 1492, 3 ships under command of Columbus approached the Bahamas, then Cuba, which Columbus later named Hispaniola, in a span of 8 weeks. The island was populated by the Tainos. Columbus was immediately struck by the beauty of Taino culture. Columbus's driving desire of voyaging the New World was to seek gold for the Spanish king and queen. Originally, Columbus asked for grant from the King of Portugal, but he was denied the funds for traveling. Therefore, he referred to the Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand for funds to travel. Considerably, approaching the end of his voyages, Columbus made a total of 4 voyages to the Caribbean from 1492 to 1504. He commenced his voyage to the Caribbean with his 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Additionally, Columbus confronted many natives of various regions. To name a few, Columbus has sailed to Discovery Bay, Land of Blessed Gold, otherwise Jamaica, St. Anne's Bay, Costa Rica, Barbados, and Lima. He encountered the Arawaks, Tainos, Almecs, and Chavans. In 1503, in the mountainous region in the Hispaniola, Taino people successfully evaded Spanish commands for labor. The Spanish conquest of the Caribbean islands commenced in 1492. Columbus and other voyagers would enslave the natives. Natives were forced into labor and worked in mines. They were put in harsh, extreme conditions. The Spanish voyagers demanded Tainos to supply them with food and labor. Although, when the natives would not cooperate, Columbus would send out military units and dogs to terrorize them into submission. Over the course of time, the natives began dying of starvation and diseases. By 1496, very few natives were left. Their living style got so harsh to the point where thousands of them took their own lives. Many went to the woods and hung themselves. Others threw themselves from cliffs and into the sea. The Taino chief who befriended Columbus escaped to the mountains, but soon died a homeless wanderer. Columbus' commencement of authority began when Taino people helped Columbus, and as a token, the natives rewarded Columbus with a cape and a golden tiara. Columbus considered it as a crown, and then he took it as a symbol of authority. Slavery and indentured servants brought many people with many different faiths to the islands. The biggest challenge to the growth of Christianity was slavery. Although the end of slavery encouraged some religious diversity in the islands. In more recent years, Caribbean natives have formed their own religion. The Caribbean was dominated by Christianity. From the religions of the slaves and the indentured servants to the style developed on the islands themselves, the Caribbean is full of vibrant variety of faiths. When European voyagers arrived to the Caribbean, they carried their religious beliefs with them. The Caribbean became dominated by Christianity, shaping the natives' lifestyle and their beliefs into something different. The Spanish and French were mostly Roman Catholics, but the British were Protestants. Irish migrants from Britain brought Catholicism, and the Dutch brought Catholicism as well as Dutch Reformed beliefs. Various artifacts and sources of Taino agriculture still persist in Puerto Rico. The voyagers' admiration of the natives' physique, woodwork, and culture increased over time. Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States provides textual evidence of Columbus's log. The passage quotes Columbus's impression of the natives. He said, "They were well built, with good bodies and handsome features." The voyagers took to notice at the gold the natives would wear. The voyagers traveled in search of gold, so their desire for gold was bigger than before. They would harass and intimidate the natives and force them into giving them their gold. This eventually worked the natives into labor such as mining, which would overpower them to death. To conclude, Christopher Columbus was not the hero that discovered the New World, as most have claimed. He led a genocide only for the desire of gold and an honor from the king and queen. The damage the voyagers created had a lasting effect. The land, the people, and culture was forgotten, to only be a remembrance on Columbus Day that he discovered the New World. This is a misconception in history.